Three friends, one amazing series of YA novels, an insatiable thirst to relive the glory that is K.A. Applegate's literary masterpiece. This is Animorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
Hello and welcome to the Dork-Bajir Chronicles, a podcast where we read through the Animorphs series one book at a time, then talk about it every week. Today, once again, we're going to be talking about Visser, the book we read last week. We did a little differently this time. It's similar to how we did the Andalite Chronicles. The first episode we did for Visser was just the summary. This week, we're going to get into our discussion. Because there frankly was too much material for one episode. So if you haven't heard last week's episode, I recommend you do that and then come on over because the waters are quite warm. Where do you guys want to start? I have some really specific stuff I want to talk about.
Yo, intro us, man.
This is Tessa and Brayden. Anyways, back to the thing I wanted to talk about. All right, fine. I'm Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Brayden, and you know me by now.
Yeah, Brayden's still living in a sort of monastic prison, is why he sounds like that. He's been deprived of all food also, which is why his voice sounds weak.
He sounds weak and feeble.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a weak person.
Okay, there's some stuff I want to talk about in this book that's really specific, not nitpicky, but just really specific. There's also some questions I have that are very broad. Where do you guys want to start?
I'm cool with starting where you want to start. How about point number 1? It's treason to murder subordinate Yeerks. How the hell does Visser 3 clamp down on all of his treasonous acts?
We talked about this.
I mean, we didn't talk about it. We kind of mentioned it.
He's on the front lines, the fringes. That's it's a theme of not only fiction but of history. That when you're on the battlefield, you can get away with a lot of fucked up shit.
Yeah, it's Full Metal Jacket, man.
Yeah.
Training is one thing. Real life is you're in the shit.
See, I never saw Full Metal Jacket, so that reference went right by me.
Well, now you pretty much have, because it's 2 movies.
It's just like that one sentence in Visser.
Exactly.
That's the whole movie.
The Rotten Tomatoes top review is just read Visser. Okay. Yes, that is one point. I did also want to talk about the military structure of the Yeerks, because at one point, what's the name of Visser 1's Yeerk?
Edris something.
Esplin
is Visser 3. Edris,
right.
something.
So Edris says that she's sub-Visser 409. Okay, back up for a second. We also know that Visser 1 is a higher rank than Visser 2, which is higher than Visser 3. So It stands to reason that sub-Visser 408 is a higher rank than sub-Visser 409. Now, explain to me how that could ever make any fucking sense in a military structure. That would mean that you'd have to know, somebody just as shitless and witless as you could be one number higher than you and tell you what to do.
Yeah, I really think it's who says it first. As we remember from the Dork-Bajir Chronicles, people just started inventing Vissers and sub-Vissers. The one guy that Esplin used to work for just started calling himself Sub-Visser 14 or something. And then Visser 3 started calling himself Sub-Visser 14 once he got big into the paint. I think it's just kind of a grab bag. Whoever grabs it first holds on for dear life until they die, and then everybody moves up one. Which, if you can imagine, if they have badges with their rank, if they have business cards, you're trying to get rid of sub-Visser, trying to get a hold of sub-Visser 409. Oh, we're the sub-Visser 12 now.
It's just a chalkboard, and you can write in the number. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense, in any logical sense. What does a sub-Visser even do? How many sub-Vissers report to a single Visser? It would be a better naming convention if it was sub-Visser A and B and C, or it would be Visser A, B, C, and then you do sub-Visser A, 1, 2, 3.
It'd be easier if it was just, these are the sub-Vissers, these are the Vissers. in the American military, there's there are ranks, and there are many ranks, but there isn't 409 ranks.
No.
That means that there's at least 409 levels of hierarchy in the sub-Visser system alone, right? That's insane. That would mean 2 sub-Vissers in the same boot camp would have a hierarchy instead of just being peers. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. I don't know why they would want to structure. I feel like the Animorphs series would have done really well with another compendium book that was just about the aliens, and like a Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them kind of thing. But it talked about, here's the Yeerk hierarchy. Here's a flow chart of the power in a Yeerk hierarchy. What do they call, one of those graphs where here's the CEO, and then here's this department.
It's an organization chart.
There you go. It looks like a flow chart.
The flow chart is did you fuck up? Yes. No. Yes. Is Visser 3 your immediate superior? Yes. Don't tell him.
Don't tell him.
Yeah.
It's a flow chart, but there's only one response. And there's only one choice, and it's to get better and meet the Council of 13.
Speaking of Council of 13, can we talk a bit more about the secret emperor dynamic? Because
it's such a cool idea.
Who introduced the robe thing? This is obviously this has to be a thing that did not exist when they were just stuck in Geds in the Yeerk pool, right?
Why is clothing a thing at all?
Well, for one, why is clothing a thing at all? The Yeerks don't care about that. The Geds are never clothed, so I feel like this is just something that the Yeerks picked up by annihilating another alien species, finding out these aliens look super fancy and they all wear these weird robes. Let's do it.
Sidebar, if Geds look like humans and they don't wear clothes, does that just mean they have a swanging hog?
They don't look like humans. That one of their legs is shorter than the other one. They're walking fish people, fish frog people, aren't they?
That's a metaphor. They actually have one lower hanging testicle.
The Geds look like gorilla men.
No, they look more like toads. They got webbed fingers.
You're crazy. I'm looking up fan
I'm positive. Seropedia. Here we go.
Okay, this is...
fuck, you're right. They're blue ape-like creatures.
Mm-hmm.
But they got
humans have webbed fingers, so I don't know why you're
Okay.
going to Fish Town.
They got webbed toes. Yeah, 3-fingered hands, yellow eyes. I think it was the yellow eyes and the blue skin that made me think that they were aquatic, because that's really aquatic. Also, the webbed toes is a big aquatic thing.
I think I just answered my own question because I don't see any pictures of Geds with sort of mace-level dongs.
They're probably just tiny little junks.
There's just... Yeah, okay, so the secret emperor thing. Brayden, maybe I want to hear your case as to why you think it's a good idea. I think it's cool. Let's get that out of the way. It's cool. Of course, secret anything is cool.
Only the secret emperor knew it. Then that would make the most sense.
I'm not a monarchist. That's not where I'm coming from here. But the big problem with any sort of structure of control with a veto power is that the person with that veto power is constantly under public and assassinating scrutiny at all times. Having they say it in the books, it makes it so that it's not a simple matter of just assassinating or badgering one person. There's a structure in place to make it so that this one person who has veto power cannot be waylaid.
So are you saying it makes the most sense from a security perspective?
A security perspective, but also from a socialization perspective. One person, the point of a veto power is sort of an emperor is acknowledging that there is one person who is given authority. But one person has higher authority for a reason, and keeping them anonymous makes it I think is just a natural extension of monarchy or really any hierarchical government. Yeah, I think that's just a much better way of a very easy a very easy extrapolation to take.
Okay. I mean, the more you talk about it, the more I'm like okay with it. Because in my mind, I was just like, what if it was sort of like feudal Japan and there was 13 emperors and no one knew who the real emperor was? And it's like, that would cause a lot of problems.
I don't
for
know
a
if
lot
that's
of reasons.
exactly what happened in feudal Japan. I think in feudal Japan, if I'm remembering that YouTube meme video correctly, I think it was just a lot of people wanted to be emperor when the emperor's son was too young to rule. So they were just like, all right, I'm emperor now.
I don't know anything about that. I was just using a random example.
But like, there is but that's in like the pre-information age. In a age with like instantaneous communication, I think that would be less of a problem.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. Like, they obviously have insane communication technologies if they're talking to people like light years away with zero latency, right? Okay, I'm coming around on the secret emperor.
I still think it would make way more sense if only the secret emperor knew that they were the emperor.
Well, then how could they exert any power then?
Well, it's more like all of them had to... I feel like they just have to... The Yeerks should just rework their whole Council of 13 thing, where everybody has to work together. But then the secret emperor, nobody knows who the secret emperor is except for the secret emperor.
Yeah, but then the secret emperor would be like, nah, I veto that bill. And then they're just like, shut up, Jason. I'm the emperor. Right? Like, there's no... There needs to be at least a few other people who know who the emperor is, or otherwise
it could be like a technological thing where like the entire council voted like digitally or like via secret ballot, but then like whatever robot or whatever was counting would say, okay, here's all the votes tallied up, but the emperor vetoed it, so...
But then how do you pass the mantle? Like, it gets complicated then if no one knows.
Well, I mean, at the very end of the book, I guess we know for sure that those two Dork-Bajir that didn't come back to the court proceedings at the very end, we know that they weren't the emperor because they didn't... Oh, but also, does the emperor have veto power?
Yeah.
Do we know that explicitly? Does it say that in the book? I don't remember that.
I feel like the Yeerks are not one for democracy of any sort. So
yeah,
like,
that's fair. Why be called emperor if you can't immediately veto everything, right?
Yeah, totally.
You'd just be a Visser at that point.
Since we were talking about technology, I kind of wanted to just hit this one point where I think it's Edris talking about how, like, she's investigating physics on Earth, and it's like, oh, they have, like, a rudimentary understanding of, like, theoretical physics. There's something with the theory of relativity and how it's an incredibly simple version of the Andalite harmonic theory, and then doesn't say anything else about that.
I know, it's just like anytime that Axe gets really into the science and the kids are like, boring. Yeah.
Does anyone want to like throw out a guess as to what that is?
I think it's theory? Like, I want to feel like, because the Andalites are all about arts and sciences, and kind of like the two being like, they encourage their women to be performers and also to be scientists, right? So it's kind of like the two are always entwined, right? So I think it's like a harmonic theory where on some kind of level things thrum at certain, like, I think it's just a term of vibrationism, really, where everything thrums at its own vibration. And harmonic theory is when you can find the harmonies in the universe, and those are the elements that work together perfectly.
I think it's E equals MC cubed.
Oh, shit!
Take that, Einstein.
Holy
Fuck you,
shit.
Einstein.
Fuck you, Einstein. You're no match for Andalite technology.
Yeah. And his name was Andalite Einstein. Also, the technology behind the memory dump stuff seems pretty cool. Also, the fact that, like, you don't even have to make a dump. Like, you can access the memory at any given time. Because she doesn't make a dump of that missing year or whatever, but they still go back into her head.
Yep, they still go back in there and get into it, which is fucked. But I guess it would make sense that of any of the aliens to invent this technology, it would be the Yeerks. The Yeerks have the most intimate relationship with the brain.
It's interesting, too, because, like, okay, I'm not a fucking neuroscientist, but as far as I know, memories are not stored in a perfect state. They're stored in a state that the most sense real estate wise. Like, we can't just remember everything. It wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't help us in any way. So does that mean that Yeerks...
Vsauce did a video about it. Basically, like, photographic memory cannot exist, like a perfect recall, because like our brains are not actually seeing like 80% of what the image that we are putting together at any given time. Like, a lot of vision at any given time is what our brains sort of like darting the eyes around think that the rest should be.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's filling in the blanks, kind of?
Yes.
Yeah, your brain
Or not
really
in the
lies
blanks,
to you
but-
a lot.
Well, I think it's because in order to do what a camera does, we would need to have way more real estate in our brain to store all that information. So rather than do that, it's work smart, not hard. Let's find the key information, keep that stuff, the stuff that will help us survive, which is pretty much why our body does anything. And then everything else doesn't matter. So like the idea of, if I ask you what an apple looks like, you'll think of like a spherical red thing, right?
Actually, I thought of
You
a
wouldn't
golden
think of-
delicious.
Okay.
I'm
But you
blowing
wouldn't
this
think
thing
of
wide
every
open.
single apple that ever existed that you ever
Yeah,
saw
no,
in the whole
that's true.
world. No, you would condense that into a categorized thing, a perfect version of that thing, and that's an example of your brain cutting out the chuff to just get to the critical thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's what makes memory dump stuff so interesting, because it implies that Yeerks, even in a host, can store perfect memories.
You know what's really interesting is your idea about imagining an apple really got to me, because there are some people that have no mind's eye. Like, they cannot imagine anything with any clarity. Like, you tell them to think of a beach and they think of like all of the words associated with beach. Like, they list that. They don't have any kind of memory. Like, they don't see a video or a picture or anything in their mind. What would a memory dump from that kind of person be like?
I don't think you could do it. I don't think you could do a memory dump, right?
I think you could, but it would just be words. But like, would a Yeerk? Because so as we know from Visser, she feeds her one host a bunch of drugs so that she's easier to control. But the Visser herself does not seem to be affected by the drugs. Would, if Visser was infested, this and like a guy who had that thing, who had no like mind's eye, could see no pictures inside, and she imagined something, would she be able to imagine something with her own Yeerk brain?
I think it's safe to say, like, based on the drug thing specifically, is that the Yeerk can access the perfect version of the brain and the perfect version of the eyes, regardless.
And not
Do
be
you know what I
affected of
mean?
anything, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it kind of makes sense, because, like, a lot of these things are brain related. So, like, if a Yeerk understands how eyes work, but something is fucked up in the optic nerve where the human brain can't understand what it's seeing, the Yeerk can access the eyes. Right. It doesn't need the brain to make sense of it.
And from like book 29, we know that like Aftran went into Axe and was able to slow down his heart rate. Like, they can do stuff to our bodies that like I can't do that, except without some deep breathing exercises, maybe.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like we'll get more into the memory dump stuff next week. Maybe. We'll see. But anyways, it's just interesting to think, because there's some weird canon about Yeerk brains.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is their brain like a bug where it's like spread out all over the body or whatever? That's not how brains work for bugs, but like the guts work for bugs like that.
Yeah, where it's just kind of spread out.
Yeah. And what does that mean for like a Yeerk amputee? Pff, nothing, probably.
I mean, a Yeerk amputee, you cut it in half. I think that might just be a dead Yeerk.
Or two Yeerks.
No, I think they only can become into many Yeerks when the three parents form together into the big glob.
Oh, right.
How much of a year could you... That offers an interesting question. How much of a year could you cut off with it living? But obviously, I don't think we have any evidence one way or the other. So maybe let's save that for the amputee chronicles.
Let's save that for
no.
the experts over at Anibase. That old like thing that Scholastic like sent out on floppy disks to people with Animorphs trivia in it. I have some smaller things I want to talk about. Oh, Visser 1 talks about Helmicrons for a second.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
mentions Helmicrons. Like, the whole Council of 13 chuckles about it because she compares Visser 3 to a Helmicron. Do people just know about the Helmicrons? But also, Mikhail, you made a great point earlier, which is in our personal discussions about it, where like the Helmicrons found the fucking morphing cube. The Yeerks can't do that. Don't laugh at the Helmicrons.
Your argument was just like the Yeerks probably don't even look into what Helmicrons can do because they think they're pathetic.
I mean, probably not. The Yeerks are only focused on finding some kind of host that's big and bad that they can then use to defeat the Andalites. The Helmicrons are too small to infest.
Yeah, it's true.
Don't waste time looking at them. It's like, you know.
It's a crazy oversight, because like here's these super high up Yeerks laughing at the Helmicrons when the Helmicrons have the fucking key to end like Andalite spy shit like all across the galaxy, right?
All across it. All across the galaxy. They obviously move very fast also. Like those little ships zip around.
Yeah, buddy. Read fast, zip fast.
Read fast, zip fast. I'm basically a Helmicron.
Maybe like the broadest thing I wanted to talk about was looking at the story from like I don't want to like get into too many isms here, but like the idea of Eva or Idris, I guess, not like Visser 1, being a positive or a negative female representation, or does she have to be one way or the other? Because the book itself actually divides or like finds a division very clearly between a woman choosing her career versus a woman choosing her family, right? Like she's torn between those two things, and even though she's for both, she is literally forced to make a choice to do one or the other, right? As a allegory, I guess you could say, of like modern women, especially in the Western world, of just like what, like, do you know what I mean?
I mean, I do, but it's kind of tied up into like, it is interesting to think about because I never really thought about it that way, because it's also tied up, like her career is really just like also about survival, like plain survival as a Yeerk and this weird Yeerk militaristic culture. Like she has to go back to being a soldier if she wants to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Like there's no other way that they can live without that.
If we extend the metaphor, then it's like maybe a single mom, right? Like how do you not have a career if you have no other income?
Yeah, that's
right.
True. And then you hide the kids away so that you can hopefully save them, and maybe they don't understand because you're never around, but you're literally just trying to get money so that you can go back and save them. Okay. Yeah. I see this. It is bad. It is wrong to call her Eva though, because she's definitely not infested Eva at this point.
True.
So it's Idris. That's all Idris.
So yeah, I don't think that's like something that the book offers an answer for, but I do think it's like a discussion of that on a broader scale. And it makes you wonder what Catherine or K.A. Applegate was going through at the time, right? Because we know that some of the reasons why she couldn't write all the Animorphs books is because she was pregnant.
And like probably taking care of babies after, because that's what happens after you're pregnant.
It's a big job. It's not something you can just do on the side. Like it's your life for a while.
Yep.
So I wonder if maybe this late in the series, like, because we know that Catherine and Michael wrote this book specifically. I wonder if they were grappling with something like that just in general. And it's true for men too, right? Like men have to make that choice as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's not as much of the, I don't know, there's not as much of the society thing about men having to choose necessarily. Just because of like the patriarchy, I think.
It's that classic headline where they say like, George Clooney spotted babysitting his kids. It's like, he's not babysitting his own kids.
He's being a dad. Like he's being a father. Where
people are like, there's a level of expecting that like George Clooney, as opposed to George Clooney's wife, does not spend a lot of time around his kids, does not take a role in raising them as much as the wife. So any breaking of that, any other things that anything that he does to be in these kids' lives is like an aberration.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like for men, they aren't even offered a choice. It's like, no, obviously you are a career dad. That just means that you're a regular man. You work all the time and then you go home and pat your kids on the head and drink a beer and watch a sport and don't know what yogurt is. That's a man. Whereas women
know
are
what
like,
yogurt
you
is.
have all the choices. All of the yogurt commercials are men being confused about yogurt. Like, I hate it. It's so...
Just like full on, like 7.5 to 8 out of 10 women, like just living their best life, slurping down that yogurt as some like, at best, 5 out of 10 dude who's supposed to be their husband is like digging through the fridge, like, where are all these raspberries you're talking about?
This milk has gone bad.
This cheese isn't ready yet. Yeah, it's weird. It's interesting because now I almost want to see if like Visser 3 being given the, like, he's a career man to the hilt, right? But he doesn't even have like children in this metaphor that we can see.
I guess in this case, this was a rarity, but like, yeah, Yeerks literally can't have that culture because
They don't, no, because they die.
They die.
They just disintegrate into their babies.
That was the point of the court case, is like, look at this woman, not woman, I guess, look at this Yeerk who like has lost so much touch with Yeerk culture and taken so much of the human culture on that she actually cares about her children.
Yeah, I think that was really because they don't have any, like, this is all out of her frame of reference. But there's no more powerful love than between parent and child, and so mommy blogging saved Visser 1's kids.
And I mean, it's confusing, right? Because like on the one hand, it's like you probably should be a good mom or a good dad. Like, I don't think anyone would say the opposite of that. But at the same time, like, people also say, oh, you should have a career. Like, as a woman, you shouldn't necessarily be confined to the home. But it's like, honestly, you kind of have to pick one or the... You can do both, but there are always sacrifices,
There's
right?
always... exactly. And also just like, I mean... the society that we live in means that you have to work to just survive. So it's a hard choice that you have to make. And basically what I'm saying is that we should have a universal basic income. Socialism.
Okay. So yeah, I think ultimately there's no answer to that question offered.
It is interesting though, because like that's definitely a reading that could be done, especially because, like I said, Yeerks are genderless, and like Edris
But
kind
are
of
they?
picked up. They are, but I think they pick up on the gender of whatever host they're in, and they don't. I feel like Yeerks don't really care, so they're just like whatever, bleh. But then
Weird.
as Edris was in a woman who then got pregnant, and like Allison Kim loved those kids too, so then Edris was kind of feeling that all love and got all maternal on it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just interesting to look at it with that lens. I'm sure there's an English major out there right now looking for some pulp fiction, pop culture shit to write about, because that's pretty much all they write about these days. Anyways, pick up Visser. Write your fucking thesis on that, you nerd.
Hell yeah.
Nerd!
Did you guys we kind of talked about this for a second last week, but I really like the formatting in this book.
Me too!
Yeah.
This was so neat.
The font and the line spacing. No, I'm just kidding. It's
The page
the way that it was a
number
court
turning.
story. Like, there's a lot of modern books and modern TV shows that take this format, and it's like sort of classic, but works really well. It's the idea of like a trial of some kind, whether it's formal or not, and then flashbacks dealing, and I guess sometimes literal flashbacks, I guess in this case, where they actually go into the past, but like learning how we got to this point. That is like 80% of fucking fiction you could buy these days is like that. Adult fiction, I guess.
But it feels so fresh in this format too, because like they interrupt the trial. Like you don't get all the memory dumps all at once, and then you already know a little bit about what happens ahead. Like if you're reading this book for the first time, you gotta be wondering where on earth the Marco phone call takes place, right?
Yeah.
Like when is that coming in? I know that's happening.
It makes me like, because it's impossible not to contrast this with the format of the normal Animorph books, where it's like past tense, but written chronologically and linearly. So there's really like, that's what you would expect from a YA book. Like,
Yeah.
nothing too complicated, nothing too fancy. I mean, we're talking pre-teens to teens here, right? This book feels not like that. The prose is still easy enough to access, but the fact that there's flashbacks and stuff like that, that's a bit more complicated. And it made me think that, like, because the main series was written from the perspective of 13, 14, 15-year-olds, oftentimes those people don't look back very much on their lives because there's so much of their life ahead of them, right?
Yeah.
So look forward. But, you know, especially a Yeerk who's been living for a long time in hosts that are also older and have gone through like major stages in their life, like having kids and getting married. That is a very introspective and not necessarily forward looking and not stuck in the past. But, you know, as I get older, I realize like I can look back on things and be like, that was fucking 10 years ago. Like,
Right.
that's a long time. If I was 15, I wouldn't even think back 10 years, you know?
Yeah, like you just have more of your life to kind of excavate. I mean, like, it's wild to me to just think back of everything that's happened to me since January of this year. Like,
Yeah.
4 months. Oh my God. Which is not quite what you were saying, but like, no, I get what you mean.
I think like, and then again, we're getting into like sort of like literary, like maybe too deep for this kind of podcast, but I think maybe the actual format of the book was reflective of the character, the narrator of the book, as opposed to the narrators of the other ones.
Yeah, to really show you that that's one thing they do with the Megamorphs and the Chronicles is they really make sure that you know it's a different book. And maybe that's part of the selling point, right? Like, oh, a Megamorphs book, you get to hear from all the kids' point of view. This one, you get to hear from like a Yeerk's point of view, but also it's set up with like flashbacks and flash forwards to before Visser 1 was Marco's mom.
Yeah, and as an adult, that feels like kind of refreshing because when I crack open an Animorph books now to read it again, I'm like, I know I can just blaze through this because there's not going to be anything to trip me up, right?
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, like especially format wise, like it's just going to be a story start to finish. Even the only weird one I think was like the Cassie book where she shared her brain with Aldrea. That actually did trip me up when it was like, this is Aldrea talking now. This is Cassie talking now.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Well, then what about when Rachel splits apart into 2 halves, and then at the very end of the book, it's her talking with both those halves back inside of her?
I memory dumped that so I could never remember it because I hated that book so
See,
much.
a memory dump I don't think is like you get rid of the memory. I think it's like you just record it for posterity, like a journal.
I burned that part out of my brain
You
with
burned
a
it.
Drake and Bean.
That makes sense. Okay. Jenny Lines over here.
Do you guys like the cell phone in this book? The first time fucking ever in an Animorphs book.
You gotta know it was some fucking 90s clunker that this poor woman had to keep on her at all times for work, and it's the size of a brick shithouse.
I liked it. I mean, there's not much to talk about it. I thought it was funny that there was a fucking cell phone in the Yeerk pool. She should have tweeted at Marco and just been like, yo, pool now.
Sure love looking at the tigers at the Yeerk pool.
You guys have any like standout moments? Then we don't have to talk about too much about them, but like what were your favorite parts?
Just like Eva helping Visser 1 towards the end. Just kind of like, okay, fuck you, Visser 1, but also fuck Visser 3. Here's how to get here's how to get you out of this alive. You're doing poorly. You're going to walk right into Visser 3's trap. Here's how not to. This way I can survive too. And maybe defeat you.
So basically the premise of the book is your favorite part.
I mean, it's not the premise of the book because this is Eva who's fighting her the whole way. But then at the very end, when Visser 1 is too discombobulated, she's like, oh wait, crap. Visser 3 has my children. This is my child in front of me holding a gun to his heart and asking me to pull the trigger. And Eva is in her head helping her, like telling her, yo, I've seen enough movies. I know where this plot goes. This is a trap. Don't tell the council that you killed the children because Visser 3 has the children.
I think like after that as well, like the Marco moment, I think is supposed to be a foil of that, where it's like, hey, look at your original son who got totally cucked by the Yeerks. And then later she meets her host's son, who is like the complete opposite, right? Like he's fighting the Yeerks and succeeding in a lot of ways.
And she even thought about him that, oh, he's too weak to survive in this world. And he's like fucking a commander in the army fighting the Yeerks.
Totally. Oh, Marco is a captain, I think. Just below
commander?
General? I don't know what Jake would be. The higher one.
Jake's a war prince. We know that much.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Prince Jake.
No, but I agree. I think it's very bittersweet in a lot of ways because there's no easy answer to those situations. And that's good writing, personally. Brayden, did you like this book? We didn't really hear too much from you.
One thing I did enjoy this book very much, and I think my favorite part is at the end, we establish that Marco crushed his mom's nose flat. So during that whole last dramatic scene, it was definitely like,
Marco, you know I love you. Please don't kill Visser 1.
No!
She also feels love for her children. This is a very dramatic moment. Have faith in Jesus. I believe in a higher power.
Also, only one eye, because when her other eye got all fucked up, right?
yeah. But that's not fucking funny.
It's just fucked.
Such a good... Those are really standout moments. You're right, Tessa, actually. I take back making fun of you, both to your face and behind your back. About liking that moment. Because now the more I think about it, it's like, that really was the highlight for me, was both Visser 1 meeting her son and Eva meeting her son.
Yeah.
Quote unquote meeting for the first time in a long time. For both of them, right? It's good, what do you call it? Foil or
bookending almost? Maybe? Juxtaposition?
Juxtaposition-ish,
I guess.
Patterns. Literature.
I've read a book before.
Do you guys remember the part where she first goes into her first human host, and she's like, there's like this one fucking whole chapter where she's like, the left brain, the right brain, connected by a bridge. Truly, this host is at competition with it. It's like, you fucking chill out.
Yo, Yeerks can do that too. Dork-Bajir can do that too, please. This is uncomfortable. Like, it made me feel weird about my brain now. Like, I'm self-conscious that we have lobes. Like, it's normal, okay?
Check out the lobes on her. Oh,
they're
fuck.
Fine. It's I don't think we can fight, I don't think I can have internal arguments because I have 2 lobes. Like, a dog wrestles with itself.
She's basically saying, like, oh, this creature feels like hesitation and critical thought. It's like, you're literally on a planet taking a risk with your career and your life. Like, you constantly talk about how you're conflicted.
Yeah.
You obviously also think these things. It's like, oh, wait, a human. There was one line where it was like, a human can look at one scene from 2 different angles at the same time. And it's like, can't you do that? Idiot.
Yeah, I think they were trying to like make the human body magical in a way, and I think there's a lot of other ways. I don't mean magical in like doesn't make sense, but in like a mystical alien encountering for the first time kind of way. But I feel like there's a lot of other things about the human body that's way cooler than that. Like
I mean, we can
genitals.
fart.
We can fart.
I mean, Yeerks don't fart. Yeerks don't experience diarrhea, right? Can you imagine, like, the rocking coke shits that Visser 1's gonna have?
Okay, remember when Garoff was, like, doing the memory dump and she was driving in a car by herself?
Yep.
And what if her past self, and don't fucking you dare lie to me when I ask this question, what if her past self farted in the car? And I know you guys farted in your own fucking car when there's no one there. Don't lie to me.
Oh man, she probably farted all the time in the car, and then Garoff was right there listening to that at that pivotal moment.
She did like the cheek lift, the one side cheek lift, hoping that the upholstery doesn't like absorb 99% of the fart.
And then you gotta lift the other cheek because you accidentally like twinged one of your hip muscles by lifting a cheek.
That does happen to me all the time.
The twitch. Oh man, okay, so you know how good it is to eat food when you're an Andalite in human morph. Well,
yeah, big time.
like, she crawls into this human for the first time and is like slowly unlocking the bits of human brain. Like, oh, here's the eyeball. Oh, here I've discovered the scent receptors. Blar de blar de blar. Discovering food is probably awesome, but then she got to have sex.
Yeah, we didn't see that chapter.
Like, Garrof, you fucking skipped right over it. You know, everyone was waiting for that part.
Garrof later, he's like, you know what? Make me a fucking copy of that disc.
I mean, because he's probably never fucked, because he's busy. He's on the Council of 13.
Yeah.
It's only for Dork-Bajir to know.
It's only for Dork-Bajir to know. And he doesn't know, and his Dork-Bajir host wasn't taught it.
Yeah, he's very respectful of that rule, only for Dork-Bajir to know. He hasn't accessed those memories
that
in his
part of your brain will stay locked up.
Yeah. Brayden, you mentioned that twin kids seem like a good fake out. I'm not entirely sure what you meant by that.
Because like at the beginning, she's going on about how there are two people she needs to protect. And like the automatic assumption is Marco and Marco's dad.
Oh, dog.
I didn't think that.
Oh.
I was just like totally enthralled by who these two people could be, but I knew she hadn't met Ava yet, so how could it be Marco? Because she was talking about that before she even got to the Ava part.
No, but she was in Ava's body, though. So that's what Brayden means. Like, she was in real time thinking about how she has two people to protect. And so maybe,
that's true.
Like, she had already fallen for Eva's husband and son.
Yeah, it's confusing, but you're right, Brayden. It is a good fake out. It's a good, like, ooh, what's this about kind of thing. It kept me going anyways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, I already knew because I'd read the book before, but...
Well, maybe there's only one thing left to do, which is our... So, this was confusing to me. So, Edris and Essam, do they like each other?
Yeah, no, they fell in love, and also the hosts fell in love a bit, I think.
But, okay, so, and that was my other question was, did the hosts like each other? I think they liked each other before they got infested.
I think they were like, well, it was more like, I don't think Alice and Kim knew Hildy until Hildy was under a Yeerk's control. But Allison was like, ooh, that's a sexy dude. Even though he's trapped by a Yeerk, that's a sexy dude. And then that infected...
That's weird.
That infected Edris's thinking, right? Like, she got that, and it kind of affected her, and she knew Essam, because he's the only other Yeerk there, and they just reached out for each other for some comfort. And, like, Hildy is just like, I mean, Alice and Kim, though.
I'm going to take advantage of that? Like, what?
She's pretty cool. Not, like, take advantage of it, but it's just like, you know, she hot. And before they had sex, Hildy and Essam had their own personal conversations, and they were kind of becoming friends-ish, right? As much friends as you could be with your enslaver. And same with Allison and Idris. And Allison was seeing this change in Idris and was kind of like encouraging it, I think. Like, yeah, hey, go to him. So it's definitely fucked up. But I think it was a bit of Allison liked Essam because she didn't really know Hildy. She liked how Hildy looked. But she didn't know Hildy, right?
I hear you trying to justify the book 100%. My counter argument is that take one step outside of the first person narration and just try to look in on the situation.
No, it's fucked up.
We have one person, let's say we didn't know they were Yeerked, okay? So we have one person who clearly has no respect for the other person because Edris has talked tons about how Essam is a fucking spineless coward and that's why she picked him. She also talks to him like his boss, which she is, but she talks to him like his boss all the time. So can we then infer that Hildy is the sub?
Oh, no, yeah. I think Essam's into it.
Okay. Because that's kind of fucked, right? Like, what is attractive about Allison to him that he could even see of her? Because every time they would see each other, like, in private, it would go back to the cold, shouldery, I'm your boss type of attitude, right?
But I mean, like, you know, someone can be a jerk and you can still think they're kind of hot, right?
I don't have that. I don't have that at all. That's not a thing for me. If someone's an asshole to me, I'm just like, you're the most unattractive person in the world right now. Wait, is that not true for everybody? I guess probably not.
Really. I mean, let's talk to Brayden first.
Yeah, no, anyone who's even slightly disrespectful to me becomes like an object.
In a bad way or in a good way?
In a like...
Just like a wall with a hole in it object. Gross, Brayden.
Like like some objects are sexy, but like...
Like a
Have
building.
you ever seen a lamp?
Also,
Ooh,
if a truck, there's a certain level, like if there was a trolley problem going on and I had to flick the switch to save one person or save an object, I wouldn't save an object.
The classic philosophical question: would you save Jenny or this rock I found?
Exactly.
Keep in mind, it's a really cool rock.
Would you save Jonathan or Jenny? Wow, that's a difficult decision. Johnny called you a cuck. Oh, so I gotta save Jenny or a rock.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's an extreme, like, an analogy of what we're talking about. But I agree. It's not easy for me to be attracted to someone who treats me like shit. Mind you, that's a thing for a lot of people. So who knows?
Some people,
maybe that.
Yeah. And also it's like, it could be because Allison knows that this, and Hildy knows that Allison's being controlled by someone else, right? Like, so maybe Hildy is just like, oh, maybe the person underneath there is super nice. Because they don't actually know each other. Like, these hosts have never talked to each other without being infested until practically the very end, where SM ties Visser 1 up and runs away with the kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, other than that, the only interaction that Hildy and Allison have is while both of them are infested, so they don't know each other at all. So you could kind of write any kind of story about this other person, this other human who's infested, and they're sitting right next to you and you cannot talk to them at all. I wonder what they're like. I wonder if they're a nice guy. They're probably fighting just as hard against their Yeerk as I am.
I think the idea is they were going through all the motions of like pretending to be humans and like pretending to be humans who were going on dates, and then pretending to be humans who were getting more serious, and then pretending to be humans, yada yada yada, on and on and on. And I think the idea they compared it to being an addict near the end of the book. Garoff called her an addict, and I think it's just like they were just like, yeah. This is just us doing an experiment. This is just us experimenting with human love. And then they had sex and got pregnant and didn't get an abortion as an experiment, and then realized, oh no, I got blacked out last night.
No, I think they actually fell in love. Like, I think you're right. I think it was an experiment at first, but I think they fell in love. Like,
I guess what I'm saying is, to a Yeerk controller, there's not really a difference between falling in love and going through the motions. I guess it's sort of like, it's a little Ghost in the Shelley, you know?
I mean, I don't know Shelley, but
Yeah.
You know what a Ghost in the Shell-esque.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson's not even in this book.
The one where that Asian woman is a robot.
That's that original story in that Scarlett Johansson movie with no other people that ever made that before.
Yep.
And it's the best version it could ever be. Anyways,
I think the thing is that Idris actually did fall in love. And SM definitely did, but I think to kind of save her in a sense, I think Garoff was calling it an addiction because Garoff didn't want Visser 1 to die. Like, he didn't want Visser 3 to have full-blown reigns of infesting Earth, right? We already know that. So I think he called it an addiction to kind of write it off because he doesn't understand it.
you think this is like a, have you guys seen A Few Good Men? Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson?
Yeah.
Do you remember how it's like
Can we really call Jack Nicholson a good man? Oh, you mean it's a movie? Oh, okay.
Jack Nicholson is a lot of men, and a few of them are good.
It was a really dumb joke about, like, have you seen A Few Good Men? And I'm like, I don't know. If I open my eyes, will they walk by?
Anyways, there's a moment where the premise of the movie is essentially like there were some private level soldiers who did something under orders that was wrong. And Jack Nicholson was the person that gave the order. This is like a very like non-detailed version of this.
Yeah.
And it comes out that he did give that order, but the privates still were charged or convicted because they still did the thing.
Yeah.
Right. But there are moments in
That's how it works in the military.
I know. It's a movie. But anyways, there's a moment where a couple moments where they talk about how like they can't afford to have this general lose his position. If I'm remembering it right, I might be remembering it totally wrong. But I felt that very much about this book, where it was like Groff has a very competent employee that might have done some, let's face it, fairly forgivable shit considering the outcome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But because he's bound by the rules of a few good men court, he still has to like do the due diligence to be like, make a big show about how everyone's like, we're looking into this thing. Our laws matter. When really what he wants to happen is for her to get off scot-free so that he can have his fucking general back, right?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I like that.
That's what I thought. Anyway, who knows what actually was happening.
I think that's kind of what I was trying to get at with the whole, like, that's why he said she was addicted thing. Because that makes sense to me.
And Visser 3 is he's like, this is a lot of like references, but Charlie Kelly from Always Sunny in Philadelphia pretending to be a lawyer, that is exactly who I thought Visser 3 was this whole book. Where she's like, it's like this host was clearly addicted. You did drugs! Charge her for that! And it's like, fucking shut up. Let her fucking talk. Anyways. I think that about sums it up anyways, unless you guys have anything to add.
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, that means that next week in our bi-weekly episode, well, not exactly bi-weekly, but next week in our episode of The Speaking Tree, we'll be talking about how would we have dealt with the situation of learning how Earth works if we were in Visser 1's position and had the knowledge that Visser 1 had, or Edris. We'd also be talking about how, if we were a Yeerk, how would we deal with the situation of our host and us falling in love with some other Yeerk and their host, which could get a little bit complicated. And then the final one, how would you use a Yeerk morph in your own life for purely personal reasons, as well as predictions for book number 36.
You can find more of our stuff on our podcast page at collectivelegacy.org or on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, or Facebook.
Remember to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you find... I'm sorry, my tongue went fucking numb there. You know the spiel, guys. You subscribe, iTunes, wherever. I love you. I really do. I don't know if it's just this empty room I'm looking at, and I just feel lonely and empty on the inside too, and I need something to fill the room and me. Everybody come to my empty house and have an orgy.
There's something to fill the room and you. Sounds like you're looking for some Patreon supporters.
Why, yes, of course.
Brayden had to sell everything in his house because he has no money. Support him by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/DORKBAJIR. I promise you, Brayden gets at least a cent on every dollar out of that account.
Oh boy. We offer special bonuses for patrons, like access to our Discord server, Animorphs essays written by us, and blowies on the dime.
We like to give a shout out to our patrons at the dime level or higher, and they get an Animorph style title, as well as Brayden's blowies.
Big shout out to Anne-Marie Ellis, the positive representation of women in choice.
Andrew Vila, the foil of 2 sons.
Michael Armenta, the babysitting dad.
Ace Chaves, the secret power of Helmicrons.
Anyanka, am I in love with you, or do I just like you because you're mean to me?
Martha Urquhart, it's definitely because you're mean to me.
Greg Della Posta, my mom's crushed in nose.
Mariah Wamby, all that tension that left the room immediately.
Zachary Vaudo, the nasally sexual tension.
Shanna, the court procedural. That's it, the court procedural.
Steve-driven, that car fart that you didn't know your mentor was gonna see 10 years later.
Elemist, the frenzy.
Nick, Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. For the Animorphs, my name is Jack, the host.
I'm Jack, the expert.
And I'm Jack, the Few Bad Men.
And this has been Jackamorphs, the Dork-Bajir Jackanals.
You can't handle the truth. You can't. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Sunglasses. You can't handle the truth. Did I say that one already? Yeah, you can't handle the truth.
Hi, hello, welcome to the ad for the show. I'm Mitch, the host of Wank Talk Radio. On this show, I talk to interesting people about interesting things. Do you need to know more than that? Okay, fine. Pretty much we'll talk about whatever my guest is interested in or passionate for. Sometimes it'll be silly, sometimes serious, sometimes a bit of both. Whatever the topic is, hopefully we'll find a way to make you that much more of an expert about it. You can find us at collectivelegacy.org, along with some other equally awesome shows on our network. New episodes of Wank Talk Radio are every Sunday and Thursday, wherever you find your podcasts. Let us know what you think on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wank Talk Radio. That's WENGH Talk Radio.
Wank Talk Radio.
Brought to you by
Collective Legacy,
a podcast network.